What's up, everybody? Trice here with another episode of Trice Watches Stuff. Now, today I'll be discussing the second Marvel series released on Disney Plus, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, I did not do an episode by episode review of the show. I actually just decided to even review it after I saw the season finale on Friday. It's been a couple of days now. Everything's settled in. So, before I get started, I will be talking about some specific situations in the show. So this is a spoiler warning. Don't want any spoilers. Please don't go any further. So let's just get right into it. So this show obviously takes place in a post-snap world. For those of you familiar with the MCU and all of the films that took place, and it examines how the world has been affected by Thanos' actions. Now, recovering from something like that will come with its complications, such as, people being displaced from their homes, having nowhere to go, and how the governments of the world and world leaders, choose to deal with the situation. Now, clearly, it's a very politically driven show to begin with, given that it takes place, in the Captain America storyline. I think a lot of people know, his name is Captain America. There's no way that couldn't deal with politics. But, in the show, the Captain America mantle, when it starts, is in flux. And this is after Steve Rogers, the original Captain America, handed both his shield and the title to his good friend Sam. Now, when this show starts, that's where we are. And so the show stars Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, I believe his name is, as their characters. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky. Now, for a good chunk of Sam's part, we see him, dealing with just everyday life, such as far as lack of finances and butting heads with his sister about how to handle the family business. They have two very different struggles, I would say, Bucky and Sam, but they also have some in common. Now, we've been introduced to them as, friends of Steve Rogers. Together, they didn't really have much of a relationship, obviously. So we saw them through the eyes of Captain America and how he related to them. Now, without him here, obviously, it's a completely different situation. And they are both sort of dealing with how he viewed them and their feelings on how he saw them, which, are kind of in stark contrast to each other, but that is the common struggle that they have right now. Now, obviously, they're both very concerned with being heroes, so they take on, a lot of missions together, trying to get things right and understand what's going on. We see some old villains that I never thought we'd see again, particularly Zemo, who was the big bad from, I think, that was Captain America Civil War. So we do get to see some old faces. We get to see some old faces in Sharon Carter. She's included in the show too. And also Ayo from Black Panther. She is a part of the Dora Milaje. Now, getting back to the different struggles that they had to deal with. Sam was dealing with everyday occurrences. Meanwhile, Bucky was dealing with the aftermath of basically being a serial killer for decades. Now, we understand that this was through no fault of his own, and we still witness him struggling with the things that he's done. He's having nightmares. We see him go through his court-mandated therapy, which has mixed results. But I was actually really happy to see this, because I was really disappointed in that Civil War storyline where it was brought to light that he killed Tony Stark's parents, and he seemed to not care at all, which, like I just said, that would really disappointed me. And it was nice to see in the show that the things that he has done, they have affected him. They do matter. He is ashamed of them. He is really struggling to come to terms with the things that he's done. And I can really appreciate, his redemption arc. Steve Rogers saw a lot in him. He did the best he could to save him. And Bucky seems to doubt that there is good in him. He wants there to be like Steve saw, but he doesn't seem to think that there is. And I really appreciated his arc, but I feel like for the most part, this was Sam's story. This story really focused on the transition that he made from being pretty much a sidekick to a leader in the forefront in his own right as Captain America. And this was definitely very evident in, the way we saw him struggling with, giving his shield away. They showed him sympathizing with the villain of the story. And also, his discovery of what the shield represents and how it has affected and devastated people like him in the character of Isaiah. All of that was really the crux of the story, and I feel like they were really laying out the foundation for the future of Captain America, especially when it comes to this Captain America movie that they've just announced, Captain America 4. Now, I will say that the show itself was a little bit iffy at times. Sometimes the pacing seemed somewhat off, and some things seemed somewhat unfinished. For example, the villain in the story, Carly, the situation with her mentor who was sick and she was dying. Something about that just felt like there was supposed to be more to it, but it got scrapped down. There have been some whispers about a pandemic storyline that was shelved, most likely due to the pandemic that we are actually dealing with in real life. So, I mean, it will be understandable that they had to kind of fill some gaps if something like that were to be removed from the story. I also felt myself a little bit not that interested in Sharon Carter's act. I do understand its place in the story while I was there, especially when it comes to the character of Carly and also Sharon's future in the franchise. But it was very, very understated, and they kind of played around with it too much to the point where I didn't really find it to be all that interesting. But I will commend Wyatt Russell as the new Captain America, at least briefly, because he really played the hell out of that role. I mean, people need to lay off him, and understand that this is not real life, that he's playing a character and he's doing his job very well. But overall, I will say that the show actually surprised me. Out of the shows that have been announced, I had always planned to watch all of them, but this is the one I thought that I would kind of be like, I'm sure it'll be good, but it stuck with me. It did. It stuck with me for a lot of different reasons, and one of the biggest reasons was the Falcon's storyline. I know that some people could view it as a bit of pandering given the political climate here in America and some of the racially charged things that have been happening for a while now, but I really didn't see it that way. And even if it was a little bit of pandering, I would still very much be interested in seeing this story told. And I take my hats off to Disney for actually being able to go through with it and tell it. Now, I did at times struggle with the villain and her plight. I love when they give us a villain whose motives are understandable. And I do think that Carly, she had very, very understandable motives, but sometimes there was a little bit too much callousness when it came to her that made me unsure of how we were supposed to feel about her. So in the end, even when it came to her death, I felt more invested in how Sam felt about her death than her actual death. But I guess maybe that was important because we were supposed to be relating to Sam much more than her. And I believe I read somewhere what Anthony Mackie said that during all of this, Sam is questioning how he can be a black man representing, a place that doesn't represent him, which summed it up really, really well. And, as a black person, I feel like the show gave me a lot to reflect on. And I would never go into Marvel anything expecting something like that. So this definitely was a pleasant surprise for me. And I'm looking forward to the next series. And I'm also looking forward to the next Captain America film. But as usual, I would love to hear everyone's thoughts, how they felt about the series, and what took place, and what they think the next movie is going to look like.